In this video help, we're going to be covering the expense screens and the employee screens. Let's go ahead and start. We're on the expense screen right here, and this is this one right here. When you come into the expense screen, this is based on overhead expenses that occur as a result of doing business. And these are things that are overhead that are not charged or not chargeable to a client. And for example, this may be things that you're doing for repairs around your business location. You may be modifying the way the lights work, or just anything that's related to billing, like electric bills, gas bills, rent, whatever it may be. This is where you collect all your expenses that are related to overhead so that you can do your reporting and also keep track of what you're spending as compared to your income, which is obviously on the other side of the application where you're bringing income from client business that you're doing, plus the services and materials that you're selling. So let's take a look at this screen. It's based on a month-by-month basis where it summarizes, and this is the ID for the record. The actual month is entered as a month and a year, and of course this is my bogus dates I'm using again. The sum expense month is a calculated amount based on the inputs in the expense amount here. And basically what you do is each time you come in, you're going to do a new month. You would click on Add Month, and it would give you a new record. You'd type in the month and year, and then this would be blank, but this would be entered automatically for you. Again, this part over here is automatically entered, so you do not have to enter it. You would pick the date of the expense type, and if I click on that, you can type in anything that you need to as far as an expense type. The expense is paid to. This would be the person for the expense that you're paying to that person or business. For example, if it were gas bill and it was a gas company, that would be for the gas company in the amount of whatever that might be. So if we look at one down here, we have a test item for a test company, and we paid $1,200. And over here on this, it says, was this a expense, a tax deductible? In this case, no or yes, depending on it is. And that'll make a difference when you print the report so that your accounting person will know that these are cost items or not cost items as far as paying or are they deductible as far as a tax expense. Now in this other case, you want to look at these for your own expenses to see what your income and expenses look like as a deducting the expenses from your income and seeing what your balance is. Okay, the one other thing that's in this screen that's very helpful is if you have invoices that you want to put in here. For example, I have this thing, I have just a sample item that's in here, and basically what this does is it has a large view that if you wanted to print this, you could go to the large view screen and you could actually print this if you needed to use it for something that you want to have a paper backup, or you're actually showing somebody that you have this invoice. Now the way you would do that is you can take an actual picture of this, or it can be coming in as an email, and you can paste it directly in here by clicking and replacing the current item in there from your photo library, and you can put it in there. You can also expand the view of this to look at it larger while you're in this screen. You can export it and save it as a document or a PDF or send it as an email, or you can delete whatever's in this particular field. Let's go ahead and look over here. If you have a invoice and you want to add an additional one for this particular month, what you would do is you'd basically come in here and you can add another one in a new record, and you can have as many as you want for each month. So you have a multiple record ability to add them, and of course you can view each one of them in the portal for the pictures that are in there for the Invoice Portal. So let's go ahead and go to the next item in the navigation, which is your expense list view, and this lists by the month the actual expense ID, the month, and the sum of the expense for that month. So you can get these and figure out what you need to do to look at your expenses and your income by a month-by-month basis. Of course, there's only one record in here because I didn't put a lot of them in. And the next one is the expense report, which is more detail. And what this does is it shows the month, the expenses for each item that you expended, and if you had more than one, you'd have a list of them for there. And again, you can do your search looking for a particular month by putting March 2013 in and see all the expenses. And then once again, you can do the omit by each record that you want to omit, showing all of the information you want to. And in this particular case, what it's going to do is it's going to summarize the record that you choose. And you saw in the list view, it did not summarize all the information from this area, where if you pick the record that is the current record, it will put that information in there for you and summarize it. Okay, so let's go ahead and like here you don't see an expense amount total. And I think the reason being is that we did never put it in the field to bring up the total amount of expenses for that particular month. Okay, let's go to the next item, and this is the expense portal, and this is the individual records in the expense portal, and use this portal to delete a row in those fields. And this would be the one time where if you clicked in a row up here, you could use the delete down here, the minus, to delete a record, but I don't think that you should ever delete a record unless it's in error. And if it's in error, what you can do is you can take out the data in that particular row record, which is this, by clicking back over here and going back into that record and then modifying the record. Okay, so this is the individual portal record, and you can do searches for records in here and make a current selection so that they can be shown in the list view for the expenses, which would be up here. Now you also have a picture portal, which is this particular record that we were looking at before, and you can also do a look for everything that pertains to a month by doing the 1 for the first month and or the name of the actual item that's in there, for like gas company bill or whatever. And you can delete these if you need to from this record, and you can go back to the main record by clicking or tapping on this. Now let's look at the similar thing. We're going to go over to employees. Now this is helpful if you have employees and you need to schedule them and you're tracking information, responsibilities, and work assignments. Now what you're doing in here is you're creating a record for the person. In this case, you create a new record by add an employee, and then all the data within this area are all the items for that employee. For example, I would say I want his labor rate in here because I'm going to be using this. I want to put his work assignment as far as what their job description is. And what I would do here is I would go ahead and click on the record. In this case, you can't click in the ID because these cannot be modified, but what I would do is I put the work date, the time to start, time to stop, and it would automatically calculate the work hours that were completed by that person, and then the work assignment for that particular day, for that work date, and what they did. And you can put this in here now. Understand that if you overflow this, if you click on that field, it will expand to show all the information that's in that field. So it's not a really big deal if you need to start adding information in there. Okay. So let's go ahead and go now to the next thing that we're going to be looking at, which is the employee portal, which is the individual records. Just like we had a billing record or whatever in the portal, this would be the header information showing you who the person is and their labor rate and task. In this particular case, it's the person themselves, individual records for that particular person. Now, if you had multiple people in your database for each employee, then it would be a search you could do to find that person information using the name field or the ID or this ID. It'll allow you to do either one. Or if you needed to delete a row of information, you can go ahead and delete it within here. I don't suggest you do that. If it's information and you used it and it's relative to the actual business, you want to know what you're doing as far as that is concerned, as far as the hours that the person actually worked. Okay, the last item we're going to do that completes the database is the employee schedule list. And what this is if you wanted to create a listing for people and a work assignment task list for a specific period of time, date, or week, you could do it in this particular screen and then print this report. And what it would basically do is show the employee ID, the employee name, the work dates and times, and the work assignments and hours that are expected to be completed. Now, this is information that can be used in multiple different ways as far as employee information. For example, if somebody was sick, they wouldn't have a record in here as far as that particular date. So you're only looking at the days that they actually worked as far as an assignment. But if you're very clever, what you could do in the work assignment area on a particular date where somebody was supposed to work, just don't put the time that they stopped and go ahead and put sick day or whatever it might be in here. It'll help you to follow the information for people when they were actually working and when they were not. Okay, if you have questions about anything in the application, we suggest that what you do is to click on the information in the Do Action or go to over here and say either go to the developer work site or review these videos. If you have questions, you can always chat with us online or send us an email and ask questions, and we'll promptly answer your questions. Thank you for taking all the information videos in this application.